There's a skill so rare, so misunderstood, that most people don't even know it exists. It's not charisma. It's not confidence. It's not even intelligence, at least not the kind they test in schools. It's the ability to make someone question their own thinking, without arguing, without raising your voice, without them even realizing what just happened. They walk away from the conversation feeling disoriented, off balance, like they lost something but can't name what. That is not an accident. That is a technique. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how it works, the mechanics, the psychology, the specific moves, and more importantly, how to defend yourself when someone runs it on you, because they are running it on you. The question is whether you know it. 1. The difference between confusion and dark intelligence. Let's start with a distinction that most people miss. There are two kinds of confusion. The first is accidental. You're unclear, you're disorganized, your message doesn't land. That's just poor communication. The second is engineered. Every element is deliberate. The ambiguity is chosen. The timing is calculated. The silence is placed exactly where it needs to be. That's second kind. That's dark intelligence at work. Dark intelligence is not about being the smartest person in the room. Plenty of smart people get destroyed in high-stakes conversations because their intelligence is the transparent kind. You can see exactly how they think. You can anticipate them. You can counter them. Dark intelligence works differently. It operates below the surface. It understands that the human mind doesn't process reality. It processes its interpretation of reality, and interpretations can be shaped, shifted, inverted. A person with dark intelligence doesn't try to win arguments. They change what the argument is about. They don't try to convince you. They make you convince yourself. They don't try to intimidate you. They make you feel uncertain about your own position before the conversation even begins. Confusion is one of the primary instruments in this arsenal, not chaos. Confusion. There's a difference. Chaos is uncontrolled. Confusion is surgical. A confused person is not necessarily irrational. They're disoriented. They've lost their reference points. And a person without reference points looks for an anchor, something stable to hold on to. Whoever provides that anchor controls the frame. That's the game. 2. How the mind breaks down. To understand how to engineer confusion and how to resist it, you need to understand how the mind actually processes information. The brain is a prediction machine. Everything you experience is filtered through a model of reality that your brain has built over years. When new information arrives, the brain doesn't receive it neutrally. It tries to fit it into an existing pattern. When information doesn't fit, when it contradicts the model, the brain enters a state of cognitive dissonance, tension, discomfort, the need to resolve. Most people can't tolerate that tension, so they resolve it quickly. They accept the first explanation that reduces the discomfort, even if that explanation isn't accurate. This is the window. Dark intelligence creates cognitive dissonance deliberately and then offers a resolution. Not the correct one, the useful one. This is not manipulation in the crude sense of lying or tricking. It's a much deeper operation. It works with the architecture of how the mind functions. It's almost elegant when you understand it. The 5 pressure points dark intelligence targets. 1. Expectation. The brain predicts what comes next. Violate that prediction and you have immediate attention and disorientation. 2. Identity. People organize reality around who they believe they are. Challenge identity and everything built on it becomes unstable. 3. Certainty. The need to know, the need to be right. Attack certainty and you attack the foundation of someone's confidence. 4. Social proof. Humans calibrate their reality against other people. Isolate someone from social consensus and their grip on their own perception weakens. 5. Time pressure. The faster someone needs to decide, the less they can think. Speed is the enemy of clarity. A skilled operator targets one or more of these simultaneously. The result is a person who feels mentally scattered, emotionally reactive, and instinctively looking for guidance. 3. The 7 methods. Now we go deep. Method 1. Controlled contradiction. This is entry-level dark intelligence, but it's devastatingly effective. You make a statement. Then later, not immediately, but later, you make a slightly different statement. Not opposite, slightly different. The target's brain will attempt to reconcile both versions. Which one is true? Which one is the real position? Did they misunderstand you? Did you change your mind? Is there a deeper meaning they're missing? While they run this internal analysis, they are completely occupied. They're not reading the situation. They're not thinking strategically. They're debugging a contradiction you planted deliberately. In negotiations, this is called deliberate ambiguity. The other party spends hours trying to pin down exactly what you meant while your team pivots, gathers information, and resets the frame. In interpersonal dynamics, it keeps someone perpetually uncertain about where they stand with you, and uncertainty breeds obsession. Method 2, the strategic pause. Most people are terrified of silence. When a conversation goes quiet, they fill it. They over-explain. They volunteer information they didn't need to share. They make concessions just to end the discomfort. The operator sits in silence and does nothing. Not because they have nothing to say, because silence in the right moment is more powerful than any response. Try this. The next time someone makes a statement that puts pressure on you, don't respond immediately. Hold eye contact, or in text, hold your reply for longer than feels comfortable. Watch what they do. Most of the time, they break. They start qualifying their statement. They pull back. They reduce the pressure themselves because they cannot tolerate the ambiguity of your non-response. You said nothing. You won. Method 3, pattern disruption. The mind tracks patterns and uses them to predict behavior. If you reply to messages within minutes, people calibrate to that. They build their expectation on that pattern. When you go silent for 2 days with no explanation, the confusion isn't about the delay. It's about the unpredictability. Unpredictable people are psychologically harder to manage. You can't anticipate them. You can't take them for granted. You can't build a false model of them and operate confidently based on that model. This is why the most powerful people in any room operate with intentional inconsistency. They're warm in one meeting, cold in the next. They praise you publicly, then offer no acknowledgement privately. They engage deeply on one topic and seem completely disinterested in another. This isn't mood, it's method. The target never settles into a fixed interpretation of you, which means they never stop paying attention. And people who pay attention to you are people you can influence. Method 4, information asymmetry, one of the oldest power moves in existence. You know something, they don't know what you know, and they can sense that you know it. You don't reveal what it is. That gap between what someone suspects you know and what you've chosen to share fills with their imagination. And the imagination is always more extreme than reality. This is why in interrogations, experienced investigators don't lead with everything they have. They sit across from the subject and let the subject wonder. What do they know? What don't they know? Have they already spoken to the others? The subject confesses not to what the investigator has proven, but to what they fear the investigator might prove. The move: give just enough information that they know you have more. Then stop. Let the gap do the work. Method 5, reframing. This is the most sophisticated technique in the set. Every conversation happens within a frame, an implicit agreement about what the conversation is about, what the rules are, what counts as a valid point. Most people are completely unaware of the frame they're operating in. Reframing means quietly shifting the frame mid-conversation without announcing that you've done it. Someone comes to you with a complaint about your behavior, the frame they're operating in. Your behavior is wrong. They are owed an explanation. The reframe. You gently move the conversation to their pattern of bringing issues in this particular way. You're not avoiding the complaint. You're examining the meta level of how they engage. Suddenly, they're explaining themselves. Their original frame has dissolved. They're operating in yours. Lawyers do this constantly. So do therapists. So do the most dangerous people in corporate environments, the ones who never seem to be in a conflict but always seem to get what they want. Method 6, projection inversion. When someone accuses you of something or pushes a narrative about you, the instinct is to defend. Don't. Instead, reflect it. Not aggressively, but not no, you do that. Subtly. That's interesting that you see it that way. I wonder where that's coming from. You haven't defended yourself. You haven't attacked them. But you've introduced a new question. What does their perception reveal about them? Now they're self-examining. They're on the back foot. Their certainty about their own accusation is now a little less certain. This is projection inversion. You take the psychological energy aimed at you and redirect it inward, back at them. Not as aggression, as observation. Method 7, calibrated withdrawal. Most people, when they want something from someone, move toward them. More attention, more contact, more effort. Dark intelligence sometimes does the opposite. Pulling back at exactly the right moment, without explanation, creates a vacuum. And people hate vacuums. They fill them with pursuit. The withdrawal has to be calibrated. Too sudden and it reads as obvious manipulation, too gradual and it doesn't register. But done correctly, a quiet reduction in availability, in warmth, in engagement. It reverses the dynamic entirely. The person who was passive becomes active. The person who had power feels it slipping. You didn't argue. You didn't demand. You simply became less present, and they came looking. Before moving to the 4th technique, Make sure you get the Whisper Power Bundle. It contains all Whisper ebooks, audiobooks, and future releases with lifetime access. This gives you the full vault before you continue deeper into the training. Get it now, because every future release will be added inside. 4. The defense layer. Now here's the part that matters most. Everything I've described can be run on you. It's probably being run on you in some context right now. The only counter to dark intelligence is pattern recognition. When you feel confused in a conversation, not about a fact, but about the situation itself, that's a signal. Something is being constructed around you. Stop. Name what you're experiencing internally. When silence is being used as pressure, don't fill it. Sit in it. Let the other person feel their own discomfort. When you sense information asymmetry, that someone knows more than they're sharing, ask direct, flat questions. Not emotionally, flatly. And watch the response to the question as carefully as the answer. When a reframe happens, anchor back. That's interesting, but the original question was about X. Don't let the frame move without your consent. When someone's behavior becomes unpredictable, resist the pull to overanalyze it. Unpredictability is designed to occupy your mind. Refuse to let it. Focus on your own pattern, not theirs. The most important skill, learning to detect when your thinking is being outsourced. Because that's what all of these techniques ultimately do. They take over your cognitive space. You start thinking about them, about the situation, about what they meant, instead of thinking clearly about what you actually need. Reclaim that space. The mind is either an instrument you control or one someone else plays. There is no neutral position. Understanding dark intelligence doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you literate. It means you've learned to read a language that most people don't even know is being spoken, all around them, every day. Now you read it. Use that carefully, but whisper out.